we've been looking forward to this for so long, and I think what's happening now is the expectations of what a next generation Nintendo hardware could be. Could have been a lot of stuff. I think we were expecting more gimmicks, more like goofy ways to play games. Historically speaking, it's weird to see that Nintendo's mostly just going to be like upgrading visuals. If there's no horns coming out of this thing, and like if you have to jerk the horns to go up and down, and then there's a gelatinous blob on the back, and the blob is like the A, B, and A, B, X, Y buttons, and you have to like jerk the horns and touch the blob, which is the new, like a pioneering way to play video games now. What we're saying, chat, is like every time Nintendo really tries to do something crazy innovative with a Nintendo 64 controller, with like a Wii, with a Wii U, with a DS, we're gonna change the way your ass plays games. You're gonna tap the fucking screen to do this shit and look at two screens. You're gonna wiggle waggle with your goddamn grandma. You're gonna do this. Like, that is the history of when Nintendo does some crazy, like, innovative bullshit. Which is why I say a horn and a gelatinous blob. This is not that. It is, dude, the closest thing to the previous system I have ever seen. It's like DS to 3DS. Yes, somewhat. But that's a bit different. You know why? Because it was in 3D, dude. A new way to play. You enter the goddamn game. Shit's flying by you. Like, no, dude. Like, the 3DS was like relatively pioneering. Here's the thing. I'll give the 3DS credit. That shit was mind-blowing. You know why? It was glasses-less 3D that you used once or twice and then you turned off, never used it again. So that was pretty crazy, where it's like, oh, dude, usually you got to put a helmet on your head or glasses or like something. You got to put a Virtual Boy that'll give you cancer. This entire thing is it's gonna sell fine. It's a Nintendo system. They have a bigger market share and more people watching than ever before. I think how big and successful it will be comes down to what always makes Nintendo as big as and successful as they are, which is their first-party lineup. Something I am excited about is actual third-party. Like legit third party that has not been severely compromised or has not been able to like match anything close to the modern systems. And like I said, to be real, we're just playing, everything we're playing now is just a better PS4 to a certain degree. Everything we're playing right now with all of our games is just a PS4, but a bit better in terms of the experience. So if Nintendo can somewhat get close to matching that experience, and one of the big things is like, hey, bro, all those games that you like on your other systems, well, they're on the Switch now. You want freaking Marvel vs. Capcom 4? You want Street Fighter 6? You want like Tekken 8? You want those on to go without having to buy a Steam Deck or something, which probably would work just fine. Then you can actually have that. I think that would be cool. But it's mostly a thing that's cool to like folks that want to expand audiences, get more people into Final Fantasy VII or JRPGs or whatever, you know, or fighting games. Clearly one of the biggest markets. You're not going to miss out on that. Dude, Fatal Fury on the Switch. Like, cool. Those things are really cool things in my eyes. Are they revolutionary? They're not. Funny enough, like after the Switch 2 was shown, and again, I'm getting one. To be real, I'm getting one. But apparently, soon after the reveal, Nintendo stock prices went down in Japan by 7%. Following the announcement of the Switch 2. So it dropped a whole bunch, the value went down, and investors are stating because there's no surprises. It's almost like the rumors of it being something really cool and different is more interesting than what it actually is, which is just another Switch that's gonna be better. So we'll see, you know? I think that is genuinely stupid. But at the same point, once we get a big reveal of how things work, you know, once we get a big reveal of this thing and that thing, then yeah, maybe I'm jaded by this generation of consoles. 100%, dude. I would love to see some actual fucking innovations. I would. It's just the Nintendo Switch 2 is lining up exactly with what the previous generation moving to this one was. Absolutely, I'm jaded. I've lived this shit since the dawn. And yeah, Nintendo has largely been responsible for really pushing the industry in crazy different directions. VR was the last big push, but mostly everything we're doing ever since like 2015 and before is just a PS4, but now it runs at a higher resolution and it has better frame rates and there's a little bit more like micro detail, you know? And that's not a bad thing. We're sort of peaking what graphical limitations can do, but really, right? But really, Smash Brothers 8 player can actually run at 60 FPS now. Many of the first-party Nintendo games can, no shit, actually run at better resolutions and better frame rate. I think that is like worth investment. I think that is super cool. That's why the specifics of all of this are so important to me. Why it's hard to be just really excited for products. It's like, well, you got to show me what it's doing. Mario Kart 9 is cool, but I need to like know, like how are the games from before being modified or changed, and how much different do the new games actually look, you know? How do they look? And that's where you're gonna get me really excited. That's where you're really gonna get me. If you have a thing like this and you're like playing games like this, right? Jesus, it really is the same thing. If you're playing games like this and doing this shit, and then suddenly you're like, I wanna do this and I wanna drag this shit along my desk and something like that. The logistics of that doesn't make sense because people don't really, the majority of people don't game at desks, right? Especially if you have like consoles, right? You're not at a desk. You don't have like a flat surface. You're sitting on a couch, right? Yeah, maybe, dude, bro, if they show people play games like this and shit, that'll be fucking crazy. I'll put in 100 gift subs. If they show somebody like dragging their new Switch 2 thing on their leg, both legs, the future. We have reached the future, right? I'm just trying to say, just think out loud. How does that work if you don't have a desk with you or a flat surface? What games individually, like a new, okay, all the latest Square Enix and Capcom games, straight up. I think that is genuinely exciting for me, where they're like, hey, here's all that shit that's been missing from our system. Virtual Fighter 6 is on the Switch. Cool. This all comes down to the games. It really does. This is why this does not feel like a substantial announcement, because it's what everybody was expecting. And I mean, leaks aside, it is literally a ROG Ally. It is literally a Steam Deck, except it has Nintendo, and that isn't the fault of Nintendo directly. It's the fact that the Switch has been around for so long that people have innovated upon it and tried to create more capable experiences in the palm of your hands, right? So the technology has gotten better. The Switch always kind of stayed. What about its NVIDIA custom hardware? Because I'm telling you right now, dude, if you go to like the Switch audience, the general Switch audience, and you start talking about DLSS and teraflops and shit, and that's the thing that you're selling people on, that's not traditionally the thing that sells people on Nintendo hardware. It's not the thing that eclipses like 150 million units sold of a system. Like, it'll be cool for all of us because, like, yeah, we know what that means, but like all of those things are extremely alien, you know? I hope they got something. Yeah, pretty much. I hope they got something good lined up for April. I really do. I think to be completely honest, if this system is $350, that's about as cheap as it could possibly go. Is it a $299 system? Hell no. No new hardware is going to be sold for like $300 anymore. That's too low now. It feels too low, but it also feels like perfect. But the obvious one is 400. Obvious is 400. But what if it's 500? How much does a Steam Deck cost, chat? Is it completely depending on what you get accessory-wise with it? Steam Deck's like over 500. I would start to look at that space, you know, and to see what those other systems are effectively sold at. Because do you think Nintendo, with all of their equity, is ready to sell things at a loss anymore? I'll be very happy, and I think it would be very good if it's under $500. My brain goes to 400, but I don't think it would be surprising if it was 500 plus. Most Nintendo hardware is not that expensive, and the last time there was Nintendo hardware that was actually really expensive at launch in comparison to the other systems was the Wii U. And that was one of the things that most people made in their head. That was the comparison most people made in their head, was like, hey, how much different than this is this than the previous system, you know? 20 million in the first year would be pretty. That means, dude, if there's reports that they can produce 20 million this year, that means they've been doing this shit for a while, right? That means that this bitch has been in production for a long time, which is why we have been hearing things about it so much over the past year. It seems like this could have come out like a year ago, but they waited. And I think they might be waiting for like mass allocation to meet demand. That would make sense. Calling it Switch 2 is the safest way to secure sales, the Sony way, easy. That's a good point. What happens from this point forward? Switch 3? Switch 4? Switch 5? Is this just what Nintendo is from this point forward? Can they even go back? Is there even a space to go back now? The answer to that is how good this sells. Straight up. The Switch 360? Legit, how this makes me happy. Obviously new Smash Brothers, obviously older Smash Brothers games, fighting games that can be on Nintendo hardware, straight up. That's what makes me happy about this. The most happy about where this hardware can be. One of the best things for Mortal Kombat 11 and other games like Dragon Ball FighterZ, and for their like long-going success and how they became much bigger games, was the fact that their Switch versions were good, man. Like, they actually had decent ports on the Switch. They made that shit possible. I think being able to cross-play in an ecosystem that involves PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo hardware all at the same time is the dream for like fighting games, much less multiplayer games in general. The only problem is that for like a lot of things Nintendo, they're very iffy about like, we don't want to crossplay with everybody. That's where they've been before. But I think we're out of that sinking boat. Imagine that this is like the tease, and they're like, here is the Nintendo Switch 2, and they hold it up, and it looks exactly like you expect, and then the guy literally rips it in half, revealing 2 screens that you could share to each person. What the fuck? What's happening? Like, there you go. And there, it is somehow reveals that it's 2 systems. Here, give it to your friend. He folds the screen. He creates like a tube out of it. Makes a unique game where things go around the tube. Dumb shit. I find it funny that this is what I want now, when for years I was the biggest bitch about, man, can Nintendo just give us a more powerful system for sake so you can actually have third-party games on it? That'd be nice. And now I'm like, bitch, what if it was a tube?